we recommend that you watch the movie before watching our episodes.
Hi guys, welcome to yet another perspective. Here we are after 2 episodes, still discussing the movie Naram Garam, a very quirky, interesting movie from the 1980s. We have here Swati Deepa. We've been discussing a lot of interesting concepts around the movie. Today we are going to talk about a very famous, newly made famous by the younger generation, which is the concept of the love language. This theory was popularized by Dr. Gary Chapman, and you can read about it a great deal on the internet. Also in his book, of course, on love language. But we're going to talk a great deal about how each of the characters, right from Bhavani Shankar to Ram Prasad, expressed themselves. What's your take on all of these characters?
So when we talk about love languages, दो चीजें हमको देखनी पड़ती है. I have a way of giving it, and you have a way of receiving it. कई बार we are happy to only work with one version. I have a way of giving it, accept me as I am. Yeah, you have a way of receiving it. I will not ask myself what is my love language to give. I will only do what you want. उसमें काफी अधूरापन रह जाता है. So the way I give and the way you want to receive, when we find that combination is when the chemistry works. Not only if I give and you are supposed to accept me, or you receive and I do what you want. So that chemistry, अगर आप देखो इस फिल्म के अंदर, the movement of the chemistry is shown only between Birju and Ratna. Okay. So love language is there. So the presence of love is there. Right. But to come back and say the confidence of love, that security of love, is very absent.
Here, please note that love language is not necessarily only applicable to romantic relationships. Birju and Ratna had a very unique relationship, which is by and large unnamed, right?
Right.
You cannot give it a specific label, you can't give it a name. So love language can exist in all relationships. Is
yes.
That right?
Yes. If we start with Bhavani Shankar and his relationship with his women in the life, as well as his brother, or even the love for the Koti, if you were to go to say, he's very invested. But he's very invested in doing that right thing, what is right for them, and not engaging at all. तो सुमी को अमरूद बहुत पसंद है. हमारी कोठी की वाले बाग में अमरूद आए हैं, तो मैं तुमको अभी स्टेशन छोड़ता हूँ, अभी जाकर उसको अमरूद देख कर आओ. राइट. सो दैट पार्ट ऑफ इट, टू कम बैक एंड से कि मैंने तुम्हारी शादी फिक्स कर दी है, मुझे पता है तुम्हारे लिए कौन सी सही लड़की है, एंड यू नीड टू बी डूइंग दैट. द ओनली पर्सन हु ही कांट डिक्टेट दिस टू, बट ही टेक्स इट फॉर ग्रांटेड, इज हिज सास. वेल, बेटी को तो वहाँ छोड़ के रखा ही है, द सास इज सपोज्ड टू ब्रिंग हर अप, saying कि 5-6 महीने और आप उसको वहीं पे रखो, kind of a thing. So he's somebody who's invested in taking care of smaller things for people, but he'll not be able to be involved and engaged in that love language. So उनका प्यार है, but तो भी the daughter craves for that company. The mother-in-law feels respected, but is very upset, saying, come out of the cycle of your astrology and ye panditton ke chakkar. And the movie ends also with him going to another pandit. So you're not talking about a learning or a transition. So love language hai, but the love is not reaching. उसी तरीके से अगर काली की हम बात करें, very respectful, loves his father, loves Sumi, loves whatever comes with his brother's mother-in-law and everything, but yet he has this whole distance to come back and say, I will not engage in love. So other than Sumi, वो प्यार से और किसी से बात करता ही नहीं है.
Yes.
And Sumi के साथ भी वो थोड़ा मस्ती करेगा, you know. तो अगर उसका लव लैंग्वेज देखें, अगेन बहुत खूबसूरत तरीके से गुलजार साहब ने वो गाना यूज करके जो बोला है, एक बात सुनिए चाचा जी, तो हिज लव लैंग्वेज इज अगेन दैट लिटिल डिस्टेंट. या तो साले भोचू बोलता रहेगा, या फिर सुमी के साथ लाड़ वाली बातें करता रहेगा, एंड देयर इज नो मीडियम. पहली बार वो थोड़ा डिफरेंट होने लगता है जहां वो कुसुम और कुसुम के फादर से एंगेज करता है, बट दैट मिशन इज अबॉर्टेड बाय भवानी शंकर सेइंग तुम उस तरफ मुंह करके पानी भी नहीं पियोगे. तो वो जब अबॉर्ट हो जाता है, ही अगेन गोज बैक टू वेयर ही वाज. in his own concept, in his own temperament. So वहाँ भी shift या movement हमको नहीं देखने को मिलता है. राम प्रसाद का situation I think again बहुत similar है. पहले शादी नहीं हुई थी, but he was still feeling responsible for Kusum and चाचा जी. शादी हो गई है, he'll continue to feel responsible for Kusum and चाचा जी. वो अगर जिंदगी से नाराज है, कभी-कभी कुसुम को टॉन्ट मार दिया करेगा, but at the same time वो उसको special feel कराता रहेगा क्योंकि she does bring in that beauty into his life, that stability into his life. So वो expectation फिर भी same है. कुसुम से to add flavor and beauty to his life and खुद से to be able to provide the best that he can.
Right.
So his love language comes from that particular position. Now the reason why I'm saying कि बिरजू और रत्ना का अलग है. बिरजू अपनी छोटी बहन से प्यार करता है. पिताजी के लिए पैसा भी कमाना चाहता है, तो इट्स नॉट कि वो अबैंडन करके चला गया है, बट ही इज फीलिंग प्रेशर्ड कि पता नहीं क्या करना है. And he loves the freedom of theatre to be able to express himself. That I've been the best Lakshman possible. तो जब वो रत्ना से मिलता है, at that point of time it's a very professional relationship they meet with. Okay? आप कलाकार से तू करके बात नहीं कर सकते. ओ अच्छा, उम्र की वजह से तू बोला ठीक है मैं चला लूँगा. Right? That little bit of saying that I'm here for work. And she also brings in that professional stance, saying मेरे यहाँ पे बहुत लड़कियाँ हैं. अगर पंख निकाले तो I'll make sure that you don't have a future. So that part of it saying that this is what we expect in this relationship is established in the first first scene.
So I think what you also mean to say that's the most transparent communication that is there.
Yes.
Expectations are very, very clear.
Yes.
And what is expected from the other person is laid out
yes.
very, very openly.
And the growth and transition is also very clear. So when she is drinking a lot and the doctor says कि पीना नहीं छोड़ा तो फिर this will not work out. So he goes there and वो हक से उसको बोलता है कि you're not going to drink it, and he goes and breaks the bottle. That makes Ratna very mad. Okay, but at the same time she feels cared for and pampered, and when she reaches out to him, he thinks it is sexual in nature. So he rejects that and he actually looks down on that whole thing. To recognize that there is this very tender woman inside of Ratna, saying कि you are like my younger brother and मैं तुझे केवल उसका प्यार देना चाह रही थी. That transition to come back and say that the woman can also be the provider, she can also be the boss, and it doesn't need to always come in either you are a Madonna and this little one who needs rescuing like my sister Kusum does, or a whore saying all you need is to be able to manipulate men and make money out of it or be the wrong kind of a woman. So his meeting point is shown beautifully in that particular scene where he recognizes.
You have just mentioned two very significant terms, which by the way was introduced by the father of psychology, Sigmund Freud. The term is Madonna and Whore. Do you want to explain that to the audience, please?
So when you're talking about understanding the male psyche and the growth pattern, we'll talk about a lot of other concepts over a period of time. There is a concept which happens in the middle childhood in a child called the Madonna-Whore complex. It's the very early teenage kind of a preteen kind of a thought where the child divides the thought of women in two fashions. One, माँ है, बहन है, भाभी है, that concept where you're to look at the woman only with purity. And this is only for an example, not to use that as my idea, but there was this concept where you talked about the item hona, ya mal hona, ya something. So there was this group of women you can sexually fantasize about, and there's this group of women who are only to be valued and revered and taken care of. Yes. So ये जो division होता है, that automatically happens, and a lot of understanding of the child or mental space goes into wanting to educate, sublimate, do other things with their own basic urges. By the time they are now becoming an adult, which would be about 16 or 18, you need to find a meeting point. So if you look at the concept of a girlfriend or a wife, what you're talking about is a great woman whom you're going to be able to value and respect, and somebody you can feel sexually attracted to. You don't need to divide the two into types of women.
Right.
It's just being able to see both in the same woman. And like I said, the talking of the understanding of complexity of a woman nature.
Right.
Not keeping it saying औरत है तो ऐसी होनी चाहिए, औरत है तो वैसी होनी चाहिए. So this is just the name of a concept, Madonna-Whore complex, which then needs to find its resolution by the time you are entering your adulthood for having healthy relationships.
For a lot of movie watchers who watch thrillers and suspense and murders, a lot of serial killers use that you've not been a good woman, so you'll be murdered kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of really blatantly explained as how these people view certain kinds of women.
Yes, so it's only a theoretical concept to understand how the mind divides and integrates, divides and integrates.
Right. And it's a natural phenomenon that happens to almost everybody.
Yes.
To everybody.
Yes.
Vulnerability or feminism comes in different forms. It's not necessarily, it doesn't need to necessarily fall into one of those categories of,
Yes.
The complicated so-called complexities that men view it as.
Yes, that either it is this or this. There's just all of it as a package. And the conclusion, if you go to see of that, is that Birju is able to provide one change in his own attitude because he's become a calmer person and he's the one who brings in the fun element and everything. And he's able to provide Ratna with a home and not only a provider concept,
Right.
where Ratna ends up serving the father. And she says कि मेरी छोटी बहन की शादी है तो आप नहीं खाएंगे क्या, right? And शादी वाले scene में, I think if I'm remembering it right, they have not shown the father's presence. It was shown to show the family being together,
Correct.
where Ratna is serving the father as the first part of it.
Right.
So how a professional woman would love to have a family, and a family woman could love to also have work as part of her life. That exchange, I think what you were talking about, the concepts that they've been able to put in, whether knowingly or subtly, because I think working women had begun to increase in the 80s. So this concept of how there's a combination of the worlds that work for the woman. Ratna wanted this family, and maybe tomorrow Kusum and Sumi would want a working life.
Right.
And not just be a wife or a daughter for somebody.
Wow. And I always thought that Birju and Ratna were just side characters and they had no role to play in the entire script per se. I think that's a very beautiful.
Yeah, and that's where I feel that the journey, if at all you look at Birju as a counterpart of Ram Prasad, because you're still talking about the same characters. Uske papa और बहन, उसके लिए चाचा और girlfriend.
Right.
Okay, they are both stuck on how to make their life happy. One is using this web of lies, wherein creating natak in the real life. One is using natak to earn the money to be able to provide that and be able to value a woman in another form.
Right.
Not constantly keep the same love language जो बाकी सबकी है.
Right.
To transition. So Birju, I think, becomes very, very useful as the vehicle for the film. So he might still not be the main character, but Ratna and Birju are the vehicles which take the story of change, because nobody else changes.
A lot of open communication clears out this concept of a love language.
Yeah.
From what you said, it takes a great deal of transparency to be able to create
Yes.
that and awareness.
So females का भी वही उसी तरीके से देखा जा सकता है. So Nani has been shown in 4-5 scenes only,
Right.
जहाँ उन्होंने पूरी जिम्मेदारी ली हुई है सुमी की. At the same time भवानी शंकर को डांट भी पाती है कि माँ बाप नहीं हैं उसके.
Right.
I could handle my daughter's death. Just get a grip on yourself, right? तो उनका ये love language है of care.
Right.
कि राम प्रसाद को बुला के ले आ, उसने खाना नहीं खाया है, right? वो shy लड़का है, वो खाना नहीं खाएगा,
Correct.
right? So that care is her love language on how she takes responsibility of everything. कुसुम को भी वो जिस तरीके से लाड़ से देखती हैं, on कुसुम not having a mother,
Right.
and that presence is a very maternal presence. So that's her language. Sumi is like, I'll do anything to see a smile on my dad's face. So there is the masti that she has with her chacha,
Right.
but there is this very, very steady, stable girl that she wants to be for her father.
Taking
Almost
care
as
of
I am as old as my mother and I will take care of your happiness, kind of a thing. So Sumi also has that language as to doing anything for her father's thing, and at the same time wanting to receive that love.
Right.
राम प्रसाद और उसके बीच में the whole song again which is there, मेरी माँ चेहरे में छुपा है मेरी माँ का चेहरा, just that little equation of how siblings work,
Right.
and that movement. So अगर रत्ना और बिरजू का is a little more mature, the chemistry between Ram Prasad and Sumi in connection to that is a very innocent kind of a connection.
Also, probably because of the biological age as well.
Yes, yes. So Sumika is very simple. Trust, reliance,
Correct.
that little simplicity. That's part of her love. And to be graceful and grown up for her father. That's her language. Kusum's is about doing those smaller things, being able to tell Ram Prasad that I trust you, that मैंने उनको वचन दिया है, so I will not run away from here. So that thing to come back and say, I'll still be a pillar, even if I'm feeling scared, I'll still be a pillar, where faith comes into the picture. So that faith and creating a sense of acceptance. She's accepted her father's majburi. She's accepted her brother's desire to want to do things. She can fight with her father, saying, don't say bad things about my brother. And she's been able to accept Ram Prasad feeling कि मैं आदमी कहाँ हूँ, मैं तो एक गरीब हूँ, and to be able to just still be the stable factor in his life. Those were their love languages also presented. Ratna's was, of course, about being protective, knowing that she works with girls, so they need to be taken care of, feeling that adhikar and calling to, taking initiative and, बेटी के ही फादर को मेरी छोटी बहन की शादी है करके, so feeling that little अधिकार and creating something. तो जैसे नाटक कंपनी बनाया, अब ये घर में she can be the dominant woman. Dominant in the sense, the woman who will hold things together. So that is her language, taking charge of something, not in the nani wala dominant way, but just in a way of putting things together.
Bringing everyone together.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. So, yeah, guys, if you can understand your partner's cues in communication, understand their love language, you see how beautiful your relationships can be. They can be more open, they can be more trustworthy, they can be more satisfactory, for the lack of better words. And we have an entire chapter on relationships in our book, 3 Coffee Stains Later. If you haven't got your copy, get it right now on www.3coffeestainslater.com.